And we're in. All right. Welcome back to Hot Tag Radio, where we're breaking down the business like nobody else. This is episode 3. I am Carl. We got James. We got Greg. Tonight, we're diving into some wild stuff that happened in WWE, AEW. Let's go ahead and get into it. What do you got on deck this week, Jay?
I mean, big news. Liv Morgan's injuries is a pretty hot topic. But we got to get into the Goldberg stuff, unfortunately. That's something that has to be addressed because it's an issue. I have a real issue with something about it, and I mean not just the obvious.
We'll talk about it next.
That's next.
That's next. Greg, what do you got, man?
I want to talk about the best heel in the business, the man Ricochet. I want to talk a little bit about some tag team issues that I'm seeing, and some disparities where SmackDown doing well on the tag team side of the world, but Raw looking pretty sparse. So that's what I want to chat about.
Right. All right. Yeah, I mean, we're going to touch on all of that, but where we're going to start is that Liv Morgan injury, because that sort of rocked everything this week. There's no such thing as a planned injury, but man, if you could have planned a worse one, I'd want to see it, because there's just so much being built around Liv right now. She's one of the hottest people on Raw at the moment. Freak accident, man. Like watching that live, it was just kind of like, is she doing this for heat? Like, what's the deal? And then I don't know what the bit was with Kyrie at the end. Like, she didn't really know what to do with the match being called, but like, man, dislocated, out for 4 months. What is that doing to the women's division right now?
It's going to slow it down a little bit. I think the one good thing WWE has is their women's division. They just have a pretty strong pipeline. So while I think Liv is going to be missed, and especially with the whole Judgment Day situation, I also think that if it could have had, I don't know, they have enough to where you can kind of not necessarily phase her out, but enough distraction to make you forget until she does do her surprise return. And then it's back, to the races. But I'm hoping that she gets back quickly.
Yeah, I mean they're talking 4 months, so I mean that's a little bit of time.
It's going to be tough. I think Jay's right in that WWE has enough people that they can pivot, but Liv Morgan was the centerpiece of pretty much everything that was going on. She was planning on, I guess, it's going to either be her versus Nikki Bella, or it's going to be her and Raquel versus Nikki and Brie. Of course, there's the Judgment Day stuff going on. Obviously, there was another arm-based injury that happened with Rhea, and they were able to sort of create an entirely new thing and wrap more storylines around things. And so my expectation is they're going to do the same thing. They're going to let Roxanne Perez sort of play the Liv role and let Liv play the Rhea role. And I think they're going to find a way to work around it. But yeah, it's just terrible timing all around.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's so unfortunate. I hate it for Liv, man. I do feel like she puts in work. She does really believable storytelling, and she's as easy to hate as she is easy to love. And I think that's unique for anybody in the business, but I hate to say this, we don't see it as frequently with women, where she can pull off either side of that character. And she was nailing it. And I thought they were getting ready to give her a really big push with the Nikki Bella stuff. And, to see it come to a halt on that move, where it was just your standard like freak accident, but it is what it is. I know that she is going to work her ass off and get back in the ring, so
I will say that
speedy recover for her.
Yeah, I will say the Kyrie thing, since we touched on that, I think it's just one of those things that I have no idea what Stardom or New Japan or some of those other places, but it can be sort of challenging to figure out what to do in ring when someone is injured, but you're not sure if it's stop match injured or if it's hold on a second, let me get back, we'll finish the match. And so I think she was caught in a weird spot of, okay, I got to kayfabe this, until we figure out what's going on. And then when you figure out what's going on, it's like, okay, well, that's it. And so there's a lot of, I don't know, I mean, there's always consternation from the internet community about everything that goes on because it's the internet. But to make us think about how she reacted is silly. Um, I don't understand it in any way, shape, or form. She was basically just trying to figure out what the heck to do when a match
Yeah.
stops abruptly
Exactly.
and you're not sure whether it's going to continue.
And it happens
I
all the
think
time.
that
I think something like that. Like, what are you saying? If you're not expecting that to happen, what do you expect them to do? Like,
Right.
I don't know. I don't know what people think you're supposed to do. Like, I don't know. I think I read something about that, and it reminded me of when Austin broke his neck with Owen Hart, and what was Owen doing for those 2 minutes? Like,
Right.
Yeah.
you know what I mean? What was he supposed to do? So, I don't know. I think sometimes people are a little too opinionated on things.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was obvious that it caught her off guard,
Right.
and like, thankfully, right? Because like, dude, if she was in the ring and acted like a seasoned vet, watching one of her coworkers get hurt, like legitimately, I'd be like, why does she keep hurting people, right? Like,
Right.
why you always in the ring and know what to do when someone gets hurt? So people can hate, and I know that there was some of it, but like most of those are just like asinine comments that get made on the internet. So that actually this is a really great transition into topic number 2 here. Let's talk about like how far are we overstepping that, like, a couple weeks ago we have the whole like stalker thing going on, and then this week it was threats to Dirty Dom on social media, and I don't know if you guys saw this. And I'm not gonna like put the guy's name out there, don't want to give him
Right.
any extra love, but basically I'm gonna paraphrase this. Said he bought 2 sets of knives and he's hoping to get backstage by impersonating a security guard, and he's gonna find the locker room and take care of Dirty Dom, saying it was his destiny and he was born to serve this country, this and that. Right? These are public figures, but no one should be subject to that. And like, this is now starting to become like a disturbing trend, right? Like, we're fans, our outlet was like getting together and talking about wrestling for an hour every week. What are we doing? Like,
Right.
what are we doing? Um,
People can't
it,
separate reality from fantasy. Bottom line.
yeah,
And I'm not saying it's everybody, but there's a large group of people who cannot separate reality from fantasy. Dominic Mysterio, the person, is Dominic Mysterio, the person. And it sucks that we have to even say this, but Dominic Mysterio, the person, is one person. Dominic Mysterio, the WWE superstar, is a completely different person. Roxanne Perez is a different person than I don't even know what her real name is because I'm not. I try not to follow people at that level, but
ah,
we're just
blur
different
that
people.
line.
Yeah,
You
we're
know,
just different. They're different people, and we really have to understand that. And you really
yep.
have to understand, much like, and I've heard people say this all the time. When Josh Brolin plays Thanos in Avengers, Josh Brolin does not want to snap half of the universe into dust. That's a
What?
character he's playing. Well, maybe he does. Maybe he does,
Yeah,
and I just don't know it. I don't
that
think he does.
was
But
news to me, man. I don't know.
right, yeah, I don't know, man. We just got to do a better job of discerning the difference between characters and the people who play them.
Well,
Some people just need to get slapped. That's what happens.
it's
I mean,
dude,
no, it is what it is. Like, it's,
I
Yeah,
bro,
promise,
like
if he made it,
it's always
no, if he
wrestling,
made it
bro.
back there, he's gonna be the one getting taken care of if he
oh,
makes
for
it back
sure,
there.
For
Like,
sure.
for
it's
sure.
not even close.
Yeah,
But I don't know. It's just all around. It's just the whole thing is stupid. If that's what he said, the fact that he
Yeah,
said it is dumb. The fact that he was going to
posted
attempt it
it.
is dumb. The fact that he posted it
Yeah.
is dumb. And if he was
dumb.
like, it's just, I don't know,
Well,
man.
the thing is, we touched on it last week. Dirty Dom right now is locked in generating heat, and I get that. But there's a not even fine line between heat and hostility, right? Like,
And didn't
I
some,
think we had.
well, I
What's
was gonna
up?
say, didn't something happen to MJF too recently with the
Yep.
fam?
Yeah.
Yep.
I
Sure
mean,
did.
Yeah, see,
but that's what I'm saying. We're getting to this point in the game where that line is getting crossed more and more, and like I'll just speak for me. I don't want to speak for you two, but I'm pretty sure we share the same viewpoint on this. It's just unacceptable. Like if you can't watch a television show and separate that from reality, and like understand that, you know, like Greg said, like Dominic Mysterio is different than Dirty Dom. Like Dirty Dom is the character he plays. Dominic Mysterio is the man. If you're putting something out about like you're trying to sneak past security or imitate a security guard to get backstage to do this, that's taking it way too far, man. Like, and to be honest, like I kind of debated putting this in or not, but I did want to touch on it because now it's this reoccurring thing, and like we as fans, and not us obviously, but like it just got to be better, man. Like respect it for what it is. It is, you know, it's a performance. It's performing art,
and it's not
and
1950. Like, I get it if it
Yeah.
was like back then, and you really believed
well,
that was gonna happen to your favorite wrestler, and then you wanted
Bruiser
to do
Brody
something
was really getting
right.
punched in the face. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But now
You know,
that Vince McMahon has told you what it is, Triple H has told you what it is, we all understand and have known before then what it was. I don't know.
well, I
some
mean,
people just
Triple H said it a couple weeks ago, like, enjoy the show. But like, let's leave it at that. Like,
Exactly.
can we just leave it at that? And that's all I really want to talk about on that, just because, like I said, I don't want to give that any more shine than it needs. One thing, and I'm excited to talk about this because I think we're gonna have some takes here. This is gonna be some hot tags, hot takes, whatever you want to call them this week. There was another pipe bomb promo this week, and I thought it hit on all cylinders. I thought it was perfectly crafted. Cena's delivery was fantastic. You know, I'm going to say it again. He's trying to ruin wrestling. That pipe bomb promo is such a fond memory for a lot of people, but it was a long time ago at this point. And for him to come out and recreate that, for it to fit the character that he's in right now, I'm going to call out one thing before we get into it. I'm assuming we all watched it, right? We all saw. Okay. What was up with CM Punk's face the entire time while he's laying on that table?
I told Angie the same thing. I was like, why is he making that face and he's just holding it?
Dude, he was holding that face like I didn't know if he had been put through a table or if he was trying to break one off. Like it was not a good look. Like, dude, I can understand if you are just like out, you know, like you just kick back and like you're out. But like to hold that face, like what in the world was that? Cena's next promo needs to be about that. Like that's what he needs to do. I hope it is. Oh my God. If it is, I'll buy every piece of John Cena merchandise available on WWE Shop. If he mentions that in the next promo, I would die. But we have someone here that is the anti-Punk. So I want to kick this over to you first, man.
Yes, sir, Greg. What you got, man?
Let's hear the Gregg take on this.
Look, most of my take it has more to do with CM Punk himself and less about the pipe bomb. But I will say, look, the pipe bomb promo I think was phenomenal. You could tell the callbacks and sort of, you know, saying similar things. The specific call outs, there's a lot of consternation around the fact that he called out someone named Nick, he called out someone named Matt, and he called out someone with the letters CC, which, you know, supposedly was Colt Cabana. But you know, regardless of any and all of that, I'll let you all tackle the pipe bomb promo in and of itself. Look, Carl had his chance, but he has yet to speak on his Cody Rhodes issue.
We get into that next. That's next.
You've talked about Damian Priest.
I covered that last week.
I know.
Yep.
Here's my bottom line.
Hang on. Let's pause right there. I'm the only one that's called out the one person I have a gripe with. So
that's my point. My point is,
we're on episode 3. We're
since
fine.
We're going there. Well, you know, we're on episode 3, and 2 of the 3 of us are getting ready to show our backside. So the third one gets to do that next week. Here's my thing. I'm not a CM Punk fan. And it's not because of, past work. I actually did like CM Punk in his original run. I've not been a fan of CM Punk in any of his new run. And a lot of that really just breaks down to the fact that we're all a little bit hypocritical, but I struggle with his level of hypocrisy. And here's my hot take. And if you all are football fans of a certain age, you're gonna get this one. CM Punk to me is the Terrell Owens of professional wrestling. When he was on the San Francisco 49ers, everyone was like, oh man, look at this guy. This guy's phenomenal. And he was. Absolutely. But there were problems that led to him having to leave San Francisco. And I remember when the Eagles got him, and there were Eagles fans talking about, oh, this guy's going to change things. Oh, it's going to be phenomenal. And I remember telling Eagles fans, yeah, okay, it'll be great for a while. But then the problems are going to show up again. It's the same thing that happened when he popped into AEW. I remember him showing up in AEW and going, man, this is going to be good for a little while, but this is not going to end well. And it didn't end well. Well, now he's on his Dallas Cowboys run. And while I'm not going to compare WWE to the Dallas Cowboys, and Cowboy fans, feel free to come for me if you want to. I'm a Rams fan, so it's not like I'm a Commanders fan or an Eagles fan or whatever, but y'all can come for me if you want to. WWE ships a lot tighter than the Dallas Cowboys are with respect to personnel and giving people leeway. But we're in that Dallas Cowboys phase, and there's going to come a point where CM Punk's going to get mad at somebody again, and we're going to have a massive blow up again. It's going to happen. And so my thought is, look, I'm not going to deny that dude's legacy. I'm not going to say anything about his previous runs and his pipe bomb, his time as champion when he was champion, but I can't do anything with this run. His run in AEW didn't work for me. His run here in WWE, not working for me. And quite frankly, if he went to TNA tomorrow, don't think it would work for me there. So that's my hot take. And you come for me in the comments, do what you got to do. Both CM Punk fans and Cowboy fans, if you want to, go for it. And with that, I'm going to keep my mouth shut, and I'm going to let y'all talk about the pipe bomb itself.
All right. I can get on board with that. All right. And I mean, I'll give you this. I mean, you doubled down on welcoming people to come for you. And again, I'm here for that. You're standing by your opinion. I'm with you. I do think part of what was a big detriment to CM Punk in this WWE run was the injury when he came back, right? Like you show up and you have, lava level heat. Like the crowd is just so hot for you, and then you get injured. You can't really do anything. You're messing around with Drew McIntyre for months and months, but there can't be a payoff because you can't climb your ass in the ring. Right. And I think that's where it started to flatten out. People are always going to cheer Punk.
Absolutely.
And that's what it is. But I mean, to your point, you want to talk about memorable moments from this run? I can't think of any. Can you, Jay?
Ooh, wow. Well, hang on. I'll just for the fun of this argument, I'll play devil's advocate.
Go for it.
Because for context, I'm a huge Shawn Michaels fan.
As everyone should be. Fan. Yeah.
Same. And we can all agree that the Shawn Michaels that came back in 2002 was very different from the one who was thriving in the 90s.
Full. Well, back problems and being off that stuff probably
listen.
Change that healthy diet,
Whatever the case may be, though.
He got married.
That also too. Yep, that probably also had something to do with it.
I mean, listen, hang on. First off, I'm not speaking from personal experience by any means, but he was married before and he was a dick. So
yeah, but this one helped him find Jesus.
And,
whatever else. Listen, the second one,
and he probably had a lot more to lose. He felt like he had a lot more to lose, and I think he had realized some things about himself that made him like a lot of things that I think made him as phenomenal as he was, in his early run, were also the things that made him a bit of a jerk, as it were, and many of those things probably went away for this. It's like that jazz musician that gets off the heroin and all of a sudden they're not as creative. Hate to say it.
Yeah, well,
But
that's accurate, man. Like, that's so. Oh, I didn't want to. I didn't want to like that. I didn't want to like it.
Sorry, Yeah, sorry.
All good.
But I feel like I can't judge Punk for whatever backstage stuff that does happen. Could it be a train wreck? It's very possible. However, for me, I enjoyed his run from 2010 to the time to 2012. Everything before that, honestly, I didn't really care for. It was nothing that special.
I'm with you. Well, dude, hold on. I'm gonna point this out because we're talking about the pipe bomb that Cena dropped. He said you were the best in the world for 7 minutes in 2012. How accurate was that? Because from what you just said, the stuff before that and the stuff after that have kind of been He delivered for one night. He delivered.
Listen, from 20, I think it was 2011 when the pipe bomb happened to 2012 whenever he left. For that stretch, it was Punk above Cena.
Oh, for sure. Undoubtedly. Yeah.
He leaves for whatever reasons. He says whatever he says from the time he's gone to the time he shows up in AEW, continues to say shit. I can't fault him for that. I don't, that's some of his business, some of his personal, get it off your chest. His best AEW moments for me was MJF, that feud, and
dude, I'm going to tell you.
Samoa Joe stuff.
Was it the three of us, or was it me and Gregg with the rest of my family that saw Punk versus MJF? Like, we went to the movie theater to watch that.
I was with you.
Oh, yeah, that was y'all.
I don't think Jay was there.
Yeah, I didn't make that.
Bro, I am telling you, that moment where he came back and he switched it to the indie music entrance, that was a great moment. What I could not tell you one spot or one segment that they ran from that match. Like, I know it was a dog collar match, but that's about it. Like, it was violent. I know they both bled. Outside of that, there was nothing memorable about it. He's telling good stories, right? Like, he'll get in the ring.
The MJF feud and his build with Samoa Joe. Like, I enjoy. Those are the two biggest things that I kind of enjoy, right?
But then it's like what we're really starting to look at, and Gregg can relish in this as much as he wants, because I mean, the fact of the matter is, when I look back on his AEW run, what it really looks like to me is like a dude that was overhyped and injury prone, and then he leaves, comes to WWE because of marred circumstances, and he comes back, gets this huge pop, he's got all this heat, injury. So like, when has there been a stretch of momentum that justifies him having this like weird aura about him?
I'll give you another example of weird aura that doesn't always make sense, and this is from a person that I actually do like. I've always been very interested in how Jeff Hardy can never be just, people going, it doesn't matter when he comes back. It doesn't matter what situation he's in. The fans continue to love him, and
because you want to root for him. You feel sympathy for him. Like we.
Is that what it is? Is it sympathy?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Jeff Hardy has tried to kill himself.
You just said people are pity cheering this man.
Yes. Yes.
See, I was legitimately asking, and so I wasn't. That wasn't me trying to dispute you. I was legitimately asking.
We fell in love with Jeff Hardy because of all the athletic moves he was doing off of ladders, balconies, through tables, taking chair shots. What he put his body through earned everybody's respect. And then you wanted to root for this guy. And he just kept messing up.
Yeah.
And then he would come back and you're like, all right, this is gonna be the great one. And then he messed up again. And you just you feel bad for the guy. You just want to root for him. And you hope that the next time is better. And
I agree, but that's not going to have me pushing that guy and steering that guy to the main event of a bunch of different pay-per-views. But that's what the
People do, but
fans.
I'm saying they just want to root for him. They
Yeah,
feel
fans
bad for
have a
homie.
I think fans have a very strong attachment to whoever their people are, and I'm fine with that. That's who we are as people. We look, maybe for one of the next episodes, we can throw out who is our weird
Yo,
attachment to a person that we know good, full, and well is not all that great that we shouldn't be attached to. But I think Jeff Hardy's been through a lot of things that other wrestlers, if they did those things and went through those things, they wouldn't have any shot in hell to come back from any of that.
oh no,
So
no, dude. I can agree with that. I, a little behind the curtain here. We didn't have that one planned. That wasn't on
nope.
Nope.
the the old call sheet here.
Yeah, we're way off topic.
I'm gonna say yeah.
I don't know that we've ever stayed on it.
Nah, probably not.
But so why start on episode 3?
Fair
So
enough.
I do like that we're getting the origin stories out here. We got the Damian Priest, now we got the CM Punk. Next
We
week
can go on
maybe
LA Night
we'll
too.
get,
I got a couple of people on my list. So
yeah.
once we get past Cody Rhodes, we'll circle back.
This is the full heel heat at this point because it's yeah. All right.
Yeah.
On the subject of
I was about to
heels,
say one of y'all should probably actually speak on the pipe bomb promo itself because
I feel like we touched on it. I mean,
The
look,
promo itself was perfect. It was perfect in every way.
Dude, he went not line for line, but enough callback to callback to callback that you knew what he was doing. It just, I thought it was a masterpiece. And again, John Cena is ruining wrestling. And
it was classic. No, because
I am here for it, man. Like the fans are cheering the man afterwards. Like he's supposed to be the heel. He has got to be the most boring version of himself right now, but it's so captivating because he's John Cena. And this is it.
That promo definitely did it. Like that promo,
dude. That was such a masterpiece. Yeah. Well, we're gonna have time to talk about John for the next 6 months, but after that,
yep,
no more.
And they're gonna miss him when he's gone, man. They're gonna miss him when he's gone.
When they literally can't see him, they're gonna wish they hadn't made so many jokes.
That's right.
So let's talk about another heel. I want to bring this up. I know Gregg definitely wanted to talk about this.
Second best heel.
Ricochet is finally getting some shine, man. Like they're letting some personality came out, and like all these people said, like, "Oh, Ricochet's got the personality of a head of lettuce," right? And like whatever else. We're seeing something a little different, and I think I mentioned in like episode 1, I'm not always a big fan of how AEW develops their characters, how they align their stories week after week, and how that does or doesn't allow their talent to progress. But what they've done with Ricochet is exactly what WWE could not do. So, Gregg, let's break this down because I think it needs to be looked at. They have a potential superstar on their hands.
Yeah, for sure. Because Ricochet, there was never any doubt about Ricochet's in-ring ability. That dude can do everything in the ring. But
he can do everything everyone can do and then more.
Yeah, absolutely. The problem with Ricochet in WWE was, I think the WWE tries to put you in a very specific box, and then your promos reflect that. Or they make a decision that they will never let you do promos because they don't like one promo, or they don't like the way you said this or that. Cesaro is a guy that like they would just never let that guy cut promos for the longest time. They made their decision, and so they made their decision with Ricochet. But once you make the decision in WWE that somebody can't do one aspect, especially the entertainment aspect, the cutting of the promos and that sort of thing, that person's as good as gone. But what he's done in AEW is, first and foremost, I think they've let him sort of speak freely. He is not, strangely enough, and I've interacted with him a couple times on Twitter. He's a very nice person in real life. We go back to we go back to the whole separating people from their characters. But I think there's sort of a quick-wittedness about him that he wanted to show, and that he felt like he could show that that no one had ever really let him do. And when the fans sort of started to turn on him a little bit and basically just be annoyed with him because he was going against Swerve and some other people they liked. He started to lean into this character, and it's sort of a weird hybrid, right? There's your what they call, excuse my French, the chicken shit heels, your MJFs and your Miz's and your people who do a lot of begging off and cheat a lot but don't stand up to people and run away. And then there's your Bobby Lashley, Brock Lesnar heels that just maul people and you're scared of them. Ricochet is sort of a weird third category of like, I think I'm one, but I'm really the other, and you're not going to tell me that I'm the other. He truly believes as a heel that he is the hottest thing going and that he'll fight anybody and that he'll beat anybody. But in reality, everyone thinks he's lame. People slap him on the head because he's bald. They trash talk him endlessly, and you can tell his character doesn't understand why people are not giving him respect. He's turned the '90s ha ha from hip hop into a very annoying catchphrase. Um, and he just literally is one of the more aggravating and annoying heels that AEW has. And it's phenomenal because he can back it up in the ring and tell matches that, quite frankly, in WWE, if he were a heel, he wouldn't be able to do. When you're a heel in WWE, you don't get to do all the high flying stuff. You don't get to do the great moves. You have to be a face in order to do that. In
Yep.
AEW, you can be a high flyer, you can do all the phenomenal moves and still be a heel. And that's where his comfort zone has landed and has really made him someone who is definitely going to be in the world championship picture. I'm curious. They're getting ready to set him up, I think, with some sort of stable. I'm not sure who it's going to be. I may hot tag one of you to throw out some who might be some good people for his stable. I've heard some names floated around, but I really think Ricochet is one of the top 5 people. I'm not just talking heels, but one of the top 5 people in that organization, and that's saying something because they have a lot of really good characters. But that's my
Well,
opinion on that.
I'm sure if you've heard some names, it's probably more than James and I have heard.
Yeah.
You're sort of the AEW specialist, so to speak. But to that end, if you're WWE and you're looking at what he's doing now, like, how do you let a guy with that much talent not get over? Like, how does that happen? Because if you like, any good coach is going to find a way for a good player to work within the system, right? And if you're Triple H, if you're a WWE creative, how do you not find something for that guy to do?
Yeah.
And I mean, we saw it. I mean, NXT, you would have thought they were planning the coronation for that guy. He gets up to the main roster and there was absolutely nothing. Like, he was beyond buried several times. The only time he really got any shine late in the main roster run was with Logan Paul. And that's like, he was probably the only dude that could outshine Logan Paul move for move.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I know we talked about that. Logan Paul can go in the ring. I get it. But like, Ricochet, if Logan Paul can go, Ricochet's lapping him.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, to have a guy of that skill set on your roster and you look at him dead in his face and you say, we don't have anything for you. We can't figure out what to do with you.
Yeah.
That is a bad look for WWE.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my opinion.
And
But
my argument, I think
know,
my argument there is sort of you all's thoughts about AEW and sort of its shortcomings with respect to continuous and contiguous storylines. The struggle on the WWE side is that when there is an athlete and someone who can seriously go in the ring, but you don't feel they have the chops to cut a promo or connect with the fans in an emotional way outside of their moveset, they just forget about how to use that person and they just decide we can't do anything with you. And that's a shame because if I've never understood the concept of creative telling someone I've got nothing for you. That's your job. You're creative. you find something for them. Otherwise, you need to go, not the wrestler. You need to
Dude.
go. If you as creative can't find someone for your something for your talent, then you're the one that needs to go, not the talent.
I think Carl made a really good point when he was saying, when he used like the analogy as far as like as a coach you want to try to fit people into the right spots so they can enter systems. I feel like WWE does a really bad job of doing that. Like with them, it's this is our system, and if you can't do this, we don't have
You
anything
gotta
for
go.
you. And I think if you can't see like the natural heel in somebody and say, you know what, maybe we can do something with that, rather than just
Well,
saying, you know what, you do all the flips, you do all the high flying moves. We need you to focus on that and make these people smile. Like that's where they lose a lot of great talent, like a Ricochet.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, yeah, dude, you go back and I remember when he got signed in NXT, and you know, there was like going from Prince Puma to King Ricochet, and I mean, I was ready for it. He put on some absolute classics in
Mm-hmm.
NXT, and you know that time's probably never going to be forgotten. But okay, just a quick sidebar, like just a couple minutes here. What in the world happened to NXT, man? Where like that was the hottest brand possible, and
Yep.
I get it now. They have like the crossover going with them and TNA, which is fantastic. It's really entertaining. I do love it, but like that was standalone, beating every other brand, not just AEW, because that was the Wednesday Night War there for a little bit. They were beating the other brands in the company. Like they were hotter than Raw, they were hotter than SmackDown. Every PLE that they put on,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely better than what WWE was doing. Where is that creative? Who, like whoever came up with that stuff? Where are they? Because it's not evident anymore.
That's the funny part, right? The guy that made that brand so successful has decided on the main roster that he has to go corporate TKO. That's
Mhm.
the problem. The person who took the risk and said, "We're gonna decide to make, you know, Simon Gotch and Aiden English, the Vaudevillains, a legitimate tag team that people can get behind and respect, or we're gonna make, the 40-minute match between Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, a main event." That guy is not doing the same things that he was doing when he was in NXT. NXT, man, they took risks. They took risks and
Yeah.
said, "We're gonna try some stuff." I know people have their issues with Patrick Clark. I get it. I got my issues with Patrick Clark. But Velveteen Dream and creating that character and letting him do some of the things that he did, killing the game. You
Yes.
know,
Dude, yeah, I'm gonna piggyback there because look, I think it's easy to say things in hindsight. Oh, I was never a fan of Patrick Clark. That's BS, man. Velveteen Dream was
That was
given
the
a
dude.
garbage character, and he got not just over, he was like over.
yeah,
Like I mean, he was doing the Rick Rude bit where he's putting stuff on his tights,
yeah,
like Vince call me up, like that was a masterclass in heel work. And like,
absolutely.
yeah, I, look, I don't know if we're ever going to know all of the details of what happened with Patrick Clark, right?
I don't know if we want to know.
No,
Yeah,
I
I'm
know for
good. I'm
certain
cool.
I do not want to know. Okay. But for that period in time and before all that stuff came out, I would say if you weren't a fan of that dude, you weren't a fan of wrestling,
Sure.
because he was checking every box.
Cena was a fan of him. Cena
Yeah.
Yeah.
specifically said he's going to be on the main roster and we're going to be fighting it out. Like, I think
Well,
everyone saw what that character could become and the type of, entertainer that that person was going to be on the main roster.
Well, dude, I'll one up you. I think all three of us at one point or another probably said something along the lines of like dubbing him as a future WWE champion.
Yeah.
I'm sure I did. I'm sure I
And
did at one
I'm
point.
well, dude. It was when the music hit, when Velveteen Dream, when that hit and that crowd popped the way that it did, th- there was no end in sight for that guy. Like
Yeah.
that was not the character that you want to put out there. He bought in 100% on the character and made it into something that it should have never been. Like if we're
Right.
being honest, it should have never been that character. He got it over. And like he progressed so quickly in the ring. It was just a really impressive rise, but with a meteoric rise came that meteoric fall.
Well, here's the thing. When you decide, and I think sometimes this happens, and it happens in AEW as well. When you decide that you think you know what someone is, and you think you know what their limitations are, then you sort of creatively put them in a box. And sometimes you need that change. You need to be able to say, all right, you know what? I'm going to try something else. And I think that's what happened with Ricochet. The translation from NXT to the main roster is not always 1-to-1. In the Vince McMahon days, they used to change people from, they'd say, oh, I know this was your character in NXT, but no one knew you in NXT, so we're going to change your character before you come to the main roster. Yeah. Oh, they changed a ton of different people.
Dude.
Like I can name you a ton of different people.
Right now, it's a gang of.
For the record, Karrion Kross is my dude. Like right now, Karrion Kross can do like no wrong for me. But I digress. We've seen it. That wasn't a new thing. I mean, anytime like Vince got a wild hair, it was we're just gonna repackage it and throw you out on TV.
Start over. Yeah.
And
but that's the thing. If you're gonna do that, then you have to give that person some time to make the character to work. And for Ricochet, look, the bottom line with Ricochet was they decided early on that he was just going to be an in-ring guy. And if you're just an in-ring guy, and I can go up and down the list of just in-ring guys who never gotten anything. Cesaro is my classic example. The in-the-ring guys are always the people who wind up, oh, we'll give you the IC belt, and that's about it. And then over time, we get tired of you. And so, again, if you're going to be creative, and I give AEW a lot of credit for taking risks on some people. Now, there's other people that I wish they would take some risks on, and they don't. But I give them credit for taking risks on a Tony Storm and saying, we're going to create this character.
God, dude.
Or taking a risk on, Ricochet and going, we're going to create this character. Or here's another name, taking a risk on a Kyle Fletcher and saying, we're going to make you in the prototype, cut your hair, you're going to come out. He's still sort of working his way to that point, but I give them credit for taking some folks and really taking a risk on them. I wish they would figure out and take an interesting risk on Will Hobbs. I like, his character is fine, but I think there's some things that I'd love to see them try a little bit more with him. He's getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple other people too. Yeah, for sure.
Well, no, I was saying like add a little edge to Will Hobbs. I think
either add some edge or give him a chance to. I think the thing with him that I really need to see from him is let him cut some really aggressive promos. And even if you have to get someone to work with him to say, here, take some things from your back life that you want to talk about and use that. Or let's create more of a character for you that's this or that's that. There are a number of people on the roster that I think sometimes they sink their teeth into and go, you know what we could do with this person? And then it clicks for that person and then they're off to the races. But I think that's what they're doing with Ricochet. And I really appreciate that. And I think if he can continue to marry the in-ring stuff with just the nasty, aggressive sort of his online work is sometimes a little bit too far because I think he matches up a little too much reality and kayfabe where people don't quite know where he's going with it. He might get himself in a little bit of trouble. But again, I'm very curious about this stable. I personally would like to see him get a stable that is unlike him. I think the thought was, we'll give him, some other high flyer, great technical people. Oh, I don't want that. I want, you want to talk about somebody who gets these start and stop pushes. I'd want him with someone like Wardlow, not Wardlow, but someone like Wardlow that is really just a big brute that stands behind him and basically does a lot of his dirty work and is usually the person you have to go through to get to him. Again, Powerhouse Hobbs, I want him for a different route, but Powerhouse Hobbs is another type of person. Big Cass
like Hobbs
is another person.
I will say that.
I think Hobbs would be fine in that role. I think it would sort of stunt Hobbs a little bit. but it would give him the ability to maybe have a second mouthpiece. So maybe that would be helpful.
Well, so on Hobbs in particular, and then we're probably going to move on from the topic, but with Hobbs in particular, I think he may have plateaued a little bit, and getting him with someone who's as red hot as Ricochet is right now might get him over that hump. Give him a little bit of that edge that we were just talking about. I think the problem is with Hobbs, and I understand you don't want to start booking into this like unbeatable monster heel, but you got to let that guy go out there and be a killer, right? Like he's got to be dominant for a large part of what he does. And if you get some shock wins over him, and like he takes some L's, that's fine. He's a big dude right now, but like he's a big casual guy. I don't see enough pure violence from that character. Well, and I think that's what I want to see.
Yeah, they've got him with Samoa Joe and shoot, now I can't remember the guy's name. He's in the ops, and I can't remember the other guy's name.
But I mean, if we're being real though, like we're talking about Joe on the back end of his career, and realistically, I've never been in love with Samoa Joe on the mic, right? It's always been Joe's going to kill you, and it's more about what it can do in the ring. So like, I think if you get the mouthpiece, which if we were talking this time a year and a half, 2 years ago about Ricochet being a mouthpiece for someone, we probably would have laughed about it, right? Yeah, but like he's found his stride, and I think if you do pair him up with someone like that, it can only elevate both of them. It lends that credibility. Like we're talking about, like Ricochet getting smacked on the back of the head, and then he's going out and proving it in the ring. With Hobbs in his corner, he's not getting smacked in the back of the head anymore, right? Yeah. Like you got to get that. That's a very like Shawn Michaels, Big Daddy Cool to me, right? Like where both of them can come out on top. But but it'll be interesting to see where that goes. You touched on Tony Storm, and I love the I'm no ordinary motherfucker. That was that was just amazing. But man, in terms of AEW as a whole, they've got a lot of bright spots right now. It's just how they play it out and how everything comes to fruition. So I don't know. We'll see. So we got a few minutes left. Let's play this game. This is going to be the two of you, but I'm going to have James start this one. So we're going to do the what if, right? This is again breaking the fourth wall a little bit. Pull back the curtain. We talk throughout the week. Like we don't just get on here on Sundays and talk. We trying to come up with some stuff for this show. This was a Gregg idea, right? The what if. Let's talk about what if.
If you want me to throw it out there, because I kind of want you to jump in on this. And I don't know if people want to take a pro or con approach, but for me, the concept by it, and I absolutely hopefully we can continue this segment. It is something that we can all think about and come up with these. But the concept of the concept of what if, like, what if one thing changes or one thing happens or one thing doesn't happen? How does that affect all of what has happened in the future since that moment happened? And the thing that have always been curious about is we've heard Kofi Kingston talk about this. We've heard Xavier Woods talk about this. We've heard Big E talk about this, that, without the New Day, they're not sure if Kofi Kingston ever becomes world champion. And so that's my what if. If these three dudes do not get together, does Kofi Kingston have a world championship to his name or no?
No.
No. Okay. Go for it, Jay. Hit me with your reasoning.
Okay. Kofi Kingston was almost not going to be a world champion with the New Day. Because the only reason, and I love the run. Like, let's get that clear.
Kofi Mania was amazing.
That was the best part of that long 54-hour WrestleMania, was Kofi winning that title.
Oh, God, dude. Yeah.
So, but I am pretty sure that was what was it Mustafa Ali's spot, and then he got
It was.
hurt. And had he not been hurt, and had Kofi not gone through the gauntlet, and we all just, I don't know, it was a very captivating moment. And credit to the WWE for riding the wave for once during that time period and running with that lightning in a bottle. But if it hadn't been for that injury, Kofi Kingston would not be a world champion, despite the New Day.
Well, but herein lies the follow-up to that, though. Would not Kofi Kingston potentially still be hovering around in that spot, waiting for that opportunity without the New Day? And again, this is just me playing devil's advocate. This isn't me saying I agree, disagree, or anything. This is just me playing devil's advocate and giving people a chance to sort of state their case. If Kofi had always been sort of hovering around the main event picture, up and down, up and down, up and down, could he have not been in that position regardless without the New Day?
Without the New Day? Without the New Day, I don't see it. No.
Okay. Well, no. So here's the thing, man. We talk about, maybe he was hovering around, but when the New Day was formed, the reason it was formed was because they didn't have anything for any of the three of them. You know, Big E was just kind of what we're talking about Will Hobbs being in AEW. He's just a big dude, no real killer instinct. You know, Xavier Woods wasn't doing anything.
No.
Kofi was stale.
Right.
So, you know, you get them together. If you remember, in the beginning stages of the New Day, they were failing. Like the New Day was failing as a whole. So, like, I think you can piggyback the question, like, what if they hadn't switched direction and they made New Day like full on, like, go out there and antagonize people, buy into the whole like New Day sucks thing, like run with it. What I don't think years down the road, right? Because like we weren't talking about like Kofi getting a title picture when New Day was running the tag division, right? Like we weren't talking about him as a main event guy. He just maybe right place, right time. But if it wasn't for the New Day's tag run, maybe he's not in that place. Maybe he's not with the company. He could have been one of the many releases that we've had. I think the New Day elevated them to a spot that he was just hot enough that they were like, we can put him in this match as a replacement for another guy who, by the way, probably didn't have any real world title aspirations, right? But he goes in there and does the work, gets the momentum, carries it into WrestleMania. WWE listens to the people, and we get the Kofi Mania moment. It was beautiful. Like I honestly, Kofi Mania might be in my like top 3 WrestleMania moments. Like the build up to it, the culmination, all the genuine, heartfelt comments and statements that were made by the New Day, all of the members going into it. I thought it all made sense, but without what the New Day had already built in all of those years, there is not a chance that Kofi Kingston,
Kofi Woods.
Kofi Woods. That I'm just combining them, you know, making things easy for WWE. No, there's not a chance that he's anywhere near that. If it wasn't, you know, him replacing Ali, it would have been someone else, and maybe they wouldn't have grabbed the same brass ring, so to speak, but it would have been someone else. Then they would have rewrote everything. I don't know.
Do you think if Ali doesn't get injured, do you think he fights Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania?
No.
So you feel like that someone else was going to be in that spot regardless? Okay,
dude. So if it's me, and we talked about some fantasy booking last week, and this is me retroactively fantasy booking, I guess. I would have tried to go with a big name, like, you know, Return or something like that. It just so happened that like that crowd popped so hard for Kofi, and then they're like, oh, it's only going to be one night. And then the next night it was like, nah, we're still here the following week. No, we're still here. We're not going away. I think with about 3 weeks to go before Mania, it was starting to look like, all right, if he doesn't win, those people are going to riot.
Sure. Well, I will say, I believe AJ Styles was in that gauntlet. That's who I sort of assumed was going to be the guy to challenge Daniel Bryan. I don't know which way it was going to go. But so I have a sort of a separate, similar question, but in a different direction. You talked about Kofi could have been one of the people released. I would suppose potentially what might have actually happened was that Big E and Xavier Woods both got released, and Kofi continues to hang around. But the question becomes, Kofi's really only had, outside of Kofi Mania, he's only had one really strong push and run for a world title, and that was the Randy Orton thing. Again, if Kofi Kingston spends another 5 years up and down the card, you still think he's not in that position.
No, and I don't want to, I don't want to dive too far into it, but like let's think about this. Like we talked about that could have been anyone on the roster. If you're just talking about Kofi having 5 years on the roster, additionally to what he already had, why couldn't it have been R-Truth? Right?
Sure.
Like it literally could have been anybody, but to what James said, it was lightning in a bottle. They weren't expecting that reaction, and when they got it, and it kept repeating, they were like, we have to do something with this. And kudos to them for listening for a change, because like we never see that. But with the momentum that he garnered, and I mean, they were calling it Kofi Mania before the moment happened. They were like, this is Kofi Mania now, because that's how hot those crowds got. And I think people forget how popular he was for that run, because of the god awful way that it ended. Because future superstar Cain Velasquez. But the thing is that without the group, without all the goodwill that they had done, without all the merchandise that they moved, Kofi is not in that position.
So I think in the end, that's sort of that's the what if, right? That's sort of the back and forth. And I had a feeling both of you would sort of play the New Day. Without New Day, it's not happening. So I have to provide whether I agree or disagree, I have to provide the alternate sort of position. But I think from my perspective, I do feel like, here, to both of your points, it really could have been anyone in that spot. But I do feel like, New Day or not, I feel like Kofi Kingston still would have gotten that reaction, because I do feel like the fans love and respect Kofi Kingston, period. What I will say is, the reason why I think the brass and the company decided to do that is because the New Day had done so much, and the New Day had shown Vince McMahon that you can sell T-shirts, you can sell merch. I think the New Day, the biggest thing to me is the New Day showed that Kofi Kingston could get on a mic and talk. And I think that was the biggest thing that sort of the New Day allowed Kofi Kingston to do, because Kofi Kingston didn't do a whole lot of talking, whether back when he was doing the Jamaican thing or when he was on his various singles run, he didn't do a whole lot of talking.
Yeah, when he was doing the Jamaican thing, he's not Jamaican. What?
Some had heard that he was not. But
Okay.
I do think that what the New Day really brought to the table is the ability for Vince McMahon to see that Kofi Kingston could be entertaining. And in that vein, I would argue that without that, there's no chance he stiffs the world title. And so this is an interesting thing. People, who are listening, sound off in the comments, hit us up on Twitter. Give me your thoughts. Give us your thoughts. I'm curious, people who think that he would have, regardless, the takes on that. So hopefully this will be a continued thing. I have a couple ideas in my head for more what if segments, but this is interesting to me and fun to me, because I like playing the what if game.
I really enjoyed the what if.
I like the what if game. I'm feeling it.
Gents, I actually I really enjoyed this episode. I think it was a solid episode. We hit AEW and WWE. Maybe next week we'll spend a little more time on TNA. We had the first what if on episode 3. So episode 4 is already looking pretty good, especially if we can creep in another what if. We got some SummerSlam build up. We're definitely going to follow Ricochet's next steps. Maybe a little tag team shakeup on the horizon. I don't know. We'll see. gonna do all the good stuff. Follow us on Hot Tag Radio or at Hot Tag Radio on Instagram. Hit the subscribe button. Steal a little line from CVV. Hit a suplex on that subscribe button. Whatever we need to do. And then yeah, man, we'll probably throughout the week we'll continue to debate whether or not Cena's promo was better than Punk's. But we will see y'all next week. Like and subscribe, gents.
Fellas.